Welcome to Nerdaties. Bitches.
No topic too absurd, no statement too asinine, no question too interesting. That's right, folks. It's interview season. We have got a lot lined up, but our first and who knows, maybe our best is a man who goes by the name of Benjamin Hunting. Benjamin, please, you know what? No, I tripped over myself. Who else is with us? Who else is with us?
I am Justin.
That's the us. The other us. Who's the other us?
I'm Joe. That's Riker and Troy back there, by the way.
That is Riker and Troy.
Yeah, it is.
Full shore leave regalia too.
Nice.
It starts early.
I don't know if anybody heard that, but Joe got hard.
So did Riker.
Joe filled the cup. Oh, okay, Ben. Would you like to lay out the project you're not even working on, the project that is active right this minute on Kickstarter?
That's right. It's called Model U.N, and it is a part one of a 100-page black and white manga story about aliens mistaking a high school Model UN club for the actual United Nations and forcing a group of high school teens in the 90s to negotiate the fate of the Earth over the course of one crazy weekend.
It's a perfect elevator pitch. And it's interesting in there. You said it's 100 pages. One of the rundowns I read online, it was a 54-page self-contained. Who's lying here?
It's well, it shouldn't have said self-contained, but it is 54 pages. It's the first part of the book.
Okay. That was going to lead to another question of whether or not there would be others going down the road, but obviously it's at least a two-parter. Do you think anything beyond there, or is it self-contained in those two?
I gave myself the challenge of getting this story told in between 100 and 120 pages just to see if I could do it. So it's going to be pretty tight on that.
Okay. And also, part of the article, one of the articles I read, was that this is directly related to some issues that came out of your high school time. When did you go to high school? What age bracket are you talking about?
You don't remember the 90s alien invasion in high school that we all went through? That was a pretty big deal. It was all over the news.
They did a good job covering that up. Your Model
They
U.
did. They murdered so many witnesses. It was tragic, but it had to be done, I guess. No, I went to, so I got expelled from public high school when it was in the 90s, mid 90s, because I had a smart mouth. And where I grew up and where I live now in Quebec, it's 90% French speaking. So there's not a lot of English schooling options available. And I had to go to a very small private school as a scholarship student. That was the only choice available to me. And it was based on the whole British boarding school mentality. So there were like prefects and compulsory sports and all sorts of fun stuff like that. And it was hell. It was like a really bad time in my life. So I wanted to try and take that experience and turn it into something good and something funny and look at all the absurdities that I experienced when I was going through that. And I poured a lot of that into this particular book.
So like you would be the alien in that situation, or you're the student dealing with aliens?
Well, the way I kind of positioned it was to examine the absurdities of the hierarchies that children get forced into in these kinds of institutions, and then juxtapose that against the hierarchy of these aliens who have a big doofus leader who can't admit the fact that maybe they're wrong and maybe this isn't the actual rulers of the earth that they're dealing with. And when you have those two kind of hierarchies colliding, you can get a lot of comedy out of that. And that was kind of my goal.
The basic breakdown has a little bit of Lilo and Stitch feel to it, with like a galactic overarching community for fucking up royalty. That's right. We're very R-rated here. Fucking up royalty. Would you say that's an inspiration?
No, Lilo and Stitch was like just a little bit after the time where I would have been interested in Lilo and Stitch. That was like I was aware of it, but I wasn't a fan or an audience member when I was growing up.
One of the things I noticed on the sample page in one of the articles I read was a character bio. Now,
yes,
I was a 90s comic kid, and there were a few things more interesting than reading a character bio and just drinking in all that information that someone would ask you about later on when they wanted to know whether or not Superman would beat the Hulk.
It's so much fun, right? Like it's like for me, it was a way to cheat because with 100 pages, you can only do so much character development that isn't tied directly to the narrative. And then I was like, you know what? These kids are in high school, so that means they're graduating. So that means yearbook is like an important thing to them. And then I was like, what if I combined yearbook with like the fighter selection screen from like Tekken or Mortal Kombat or something, where you would have their most interesting points and their least interesting points and like weird facts about them. And then I was able to sprinkle those through the book, not just for the main characters in the student side of things, but also some of the aliens got a few of those too. It was a lot of fun to do.
I just think they'd be as important, if not more important, because you could kind of guess the way a human acts based on the way they dress. Aliens always
Yeah.
gonna be alien until you get to know it.
You get to do some like a shortcut to world building a little bit with the aliens doing it that way.
Yeah, it seems like a creative exposition dump too. Like you can get all that info out there without having one person do a monologue that you're looking at your phone the whole time through.
Exactly. And one of the fun things too, the artist that I co-created this book with, i.e. Santiana Hernandez, I had a rough idea of highlighting certain aspects of the character visually, just like mostly in the form of accessories and wardrobe and stuff, because since they're all in private school, they're mostly wearing uniforms and it's very similar, which was a narrative dead end I backed myself into when you're creating characters. So I had to rely, basically Santiana Hernandez had to really be on his face game to make sure everyone looked like everyone was different at all times. You can't fudge it with wardrobe. But I was like, look, if we're in these stats panels, why don't we highlight like this person wears a beret and this person has a certain kind of Walkman and this person's always carrying a guitar case or something. And the way he did it by sprinkling them in at the bottom, I had envisioned some kind of like zoom in on like an arrow pointing to their wrist for the watch and an arrow pointing to the Walkman. But the way he integrated it was just, as always with any artist that collaborate with, is just so much cleaner and more interesting to look at. So I was really excited that he was able to do that.
It's good that you brought him up right out of the gate and the collaboration aspect, because I was wondering, when it comes to the aliens, how much did you put on the page and how much did you allow him the freedom to mess around with?
So when I first approached him about the project, I had no idea what the aliens looked like. I really didn't. They were just, I wanted something that was very distinctly other, but I wasn't sure what that would be. And we working together, without spoiling things too much, he came up with a really cool way to present how the aliens look when they're interacting with the humans, and then how they look when they're interacting with each other on their ship. And that was something I hadn't considered, like that kind of dichotomy of how these creatures might present themselves. And that was a really big contribution that I was really grateful for.
Kind of a mirage almost.
It's a little more mechanical than that,
Yeah.
but it is related to their biology, you could say. Not like Riker and Troy related to their biology, but
well, we all know as soon as he shaved that beard, it ruined that movie.
you know what is funny is I was once at a Comic-Con event where a very good friend of mine asked William Frakes if he was forced to wear a girdle during the 2nd through 7th seasons of Star Trek. And he didn't answer, but Marina Sirtis did answer because she was so upset by the question. But she told him that they were told by Paramount that they all had very nice, cushy jobs on this great TV show. And wouldn't it be a shame if they lost those jobs because they didn't look after themselves physically? And it was this horrible, like, negging them into changing their bodies thing. And now I think about every time someone mentions the beard, that's what I think about, like a very uncomfortable meeting with Paramount executives.
I mean, I can imagine the beard is just an aesthetic thing. Like, you know what? For the movie, we got to lose the beard. Or you know what? There's something about you want to change. Why don't you try a beard? You're looking a little fat.
It's how much tact do we imagine Paramount executives actually having too, right?
Paramount, not very.
Well, now that Frakes is like the main Star Trek director, he usually heads like the best episodes of all the new stuff.
That's true. So he got the last laugh, I guess. I know the gargoyle's money.
Now he's in his 70s. They don't give a rat's ass what he looks like when they get him on the screen.
Yeah. Picard season 3. Come on.
Did you have something you were going to ask, Justin?
Are you done with your line of questioning? Because I'm going to go outside of the.
I can always come back.
Okay. Ben.
Yes.
We obviously can tell now that you are a Star Trek fan.
Yes.
what are some of your other nerddoms?
Yeah, because we were going to give Joe 5 minutes at the end of the show to talk
Joe's gonna
about Star Trek.
right out. But
I could go with Philip K. Dick, who is like a huge influence on me, especially when I was younger. I discovered his novels probably when I was like 15 or 16, and I never really encountered a writer who was questioning the concepts of like shared reality and objective reality, and whether what I experience is the same as what the person beside me is experiencing, and even if it's possible to know that. And I found that absolutely fascinating, and I devoured all of that work. And then kind of on a similar plane was David Cronenberg, who I discovered a little bit earlier. And he's a Canadian, mostly horror, but also difficult to classify some of his movies, where he looks at reality from a very physical standpoint. I guess you could call it body horror. But the idea of using like physicality as a gateway to other experiences or other perceptions of reality. Movies like Videodrome and The Fly, I guess, are like the very extreme examples of that. But
The Brood was a really messed up one.
Yeah, and Existence as well, where like there's all that the physicality allows you to connect to a network that allows you to be in touch with other human beings and whatnot. So that kind of stuff, I saw that like way too young. I had no idea what was going on, and it messed me up. Like I saw Naked Lunch around that period as well, which completely incomprehensible, but like it haunts you, you know?
I only saw images of Naked Lunch because if we can throw our ages out there, I'm 45. I'm guessing.
As am I.
Okay, so we're in the same mindset of you see images from Naked Lunch, you see the mugwump, you see all the puppets and stuff, you see the typewriter just in a still image, and you go, holy shit, I need to watch this. I'm so happy I didn't as a kid. I watched that for the first time last year and was so happy I'd never seen it before. That would have fouled me as a child.
Up here in Quebec, so our broadcast standards are very different from the United States in the sense there's this concept called the watershed, which is around 9:00 at night, and everything that's broadcast after 9 p.m., the broadcaster can assume it's an adult audience, and you can show absolutely anything. There's no the complaint system doesn't work the same way up here. So the way this translates into Naked Lunch is there were a lot of French channels that would dub these movies and show them at night. And I was still awake, and I would end up seeing things that like should never have been broadcast on television. Like it's just, these are really out there movies. And I had no like guidance as to what was happening on the screen. I didn't know who Burroughs was, you know, like I was just watching a really weird movie with really weird typewriters.
Yeah. For Cronenberg too, the thing, he was a huge body horror. I totally agree. In the 80s and like he wasn't Altered States. That's right. He didn't do Altered States.
But that is similar in theme. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the early 2000s, he kept with what you were saying, I think, where the physicality of what he was like, Eastern Promises and History of Violence.
Yeah.
Did you watch Crimes of the Future?
I haven't seen Crimes of the Future yet. I understand it's sort of a return to form. I understand also that was a script he wrote a very long time ago and couldn't get made, which might explain its similarities to his earlier work.
Yeah, he had done one of his earliest films was Crimes of the Future, but from what I didn't see the original. This is a completely different takeoff, and yeah, the body horror is different in that it's accepted by some, but completely unacceptable to others, and those are the ones in power. So,
a very thin analogy, isn't it?
Yes. There's a lot of allegory for many different things going on in that movie.
Yeah.
But if for nothing else, the soundtrack alone is worth checking out.
Okay, I definitely will. I'm going to stop putting it off. Stop putting it off.
We live in a world where every successful story gets translated into some other kind of medium. It gets put on one screen or another. Is that a goal, or is that just, if it comes down the road, you'll deal with it?
If it comes down the road, we'll deal with it. I went through part of that process with an earlier book I wrote called Code 45, which is published by Scout Comics in 2021. And we had the whole like meetings with producers and shopping agreements, and it was surreal and intensely negative in some ways. And I'm not eager to repeat that process. So I would do things very, very differently if it ever came up again, I would say, in a diplomatic way.
From the outside, we've never had that, because we also have a comic book of our own and haven't gotten into that stage of things. But it seems so like, you'd be so giddy going into it. And then as soon as you get in the room, It's almost like you're a zoo animal locked in a cage.
That's a really accurate way of putting it. It's like it's strange to be having conversations with people who are ostensibly wanting to adapt your work, and then you don't hear from them for a couple of months, and then suddenly they have a script for you written by someone you've never heard of, and they're trying to find a director for that script, and you're like, well, can I read the script that you wrote about this work and that you didn't tell us you were doing? And it all falls apart from there, right? It's just it is a very strange world where a lot of people just want to feed you a lot of bullshit, and you have to be extremely aware of that. I guess it's not different from other forms of media in that way. But as a first experience, it wasn't great.
Anything corporate, the higher you get up the ladder, the more shit you're being fed.
Yeah, and you start to feel a little bit like a product, like you're just being packaged to be thrown into a content machine, which in some cases I guess is fine, but it's not always how you want to go with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, you almost have to accept to just hand over your baby and let them do what they're going to do with it. And when the time comes, I'll do some interviews, but this is not my thing. Yeah, I rented out my mind to them.
That's definitely one way to approach it for sure. And I wish we had been given that option instead of what transpired.
It's interesting, like if in Quebec that you're not a French speaker, or you didn't.
Well, I'm the term up here would be Anglophone. I know that's not really used very much in the US, but it's about, I would say 8% of the population speaks English as a first language. I'm fluent in French because, everyday society here is French. But yeah, but no, my family's been here a long time, since before Canada existed. And some of those English populations are still around. Most of them have moved out of the province, but yeah, there's a long history of English speakers in Quebec. It's just a very small percentage of the population overall.
I love Quebec.
I'm sorry.
I love Quebec. I was there.
Great fishing in Quebec
5 years ago. I loved it. Beautiful place.
There's some really gorgeous parts of the province. I feel really lucky to live where I do.
Yeah. Personally, my knowledge of Canada is limited to what I've seen on Letterkenny. So I haven't traveled that far north. The farthest north I've gone is Vermont. So
okay, so I am right from my office. I can see the Green Mountains of Vermont. I'm like 5 miles from the border. So you almost made it.
You're northern U.S.
like in Super Troopers.
Littering and
yeah.
I feel like if we had more time, we could just probably do a reference fest with you. It seems like we have a lot of overlap going on. Unfortunately, we don't have a shitload of time. It's gone quick. Sometimes we'll start interviews and we gotta handhold a little bit, or there's some kind of technical issue. We jumped right in and we're almost at the end of the interview, which to me seems like it was a good one.
I'm having a good time.
I think it's time to let Joe.
Oh yeah, wait, we gotta say one more time though. The name of the book.
Yeah, Model U.N. You can find it at modeluncomic.com. That will take you right to the Kickstarter.
All right, Joe, go ahead and flirt.
Take your dick out.
And your Kickstarter drops tomorrow, October 7th at
we'll
8
do all
a.m.
that.
Eastern.
We'll do all that again in the closing.
Look, okay, that's right.
All
right. You only get so much time, Joe. Don't waste it.
Come on.
Favorite captain?
Kirk.
Favorite
movie Kirk though.
Okay. Which movie?
2 and 6.
Very nice. Are you a fan of Lower Decks?
I have not seen a single episode. There's no reason for it. I don't have anything against it. I've seen one episode. That's inaccurate. No, wait, I saw the Discovery crossover episode. That's what I saw. So that's a weird answer to that question. I'm sorry, but no, I haven't seen it in its true form.
You need to watch Lower Decks. It's like Rick and Morty meets Star Trek.
Okay.
It's hilarious and it goes into a lot of lore. It's definitely for the nerds. It's great. You'll get a lot of references. Joe,
if you don't have anything else, I'm going to go into Star Wars. You know this.
That's it. I'm just happy there's a Star Trek fan.
Fine, I'll do it for you, Joe. Favorite ship
in all of fandom?
Well, I would say Trek, but all of fandom might be a better one.
In all of Trek, I would say movie Enterprise for sure. Yeah, it's got my heart.
Regular A, B, C.
Regular with no A, because A was kind of a lemon.
A was a lemon. Yeah. Star Trek 5 when nothing worked.
Yep. And Scotty was banging his head on stuff. I mean, come on.
Yeah, yeah. And
E might be the best. That thing is so fucking sleek.
B?
E.
Oh, E.
What-
Yeah.
First Contact. I mean, that thing is beautiful. It's more of a warship. I mean, let's face it.
Yeah.
D is like.
D was all the families and the preschools and whatnot, which like doesn't get mentioned at all in any of the movies. There's no thought to any of those kids when they're fighting the Borg or whoever.
You want to think of beauty? The Strange New Worlds Enterprise is beautiful.
Very good. And I have to say, I want to shout out Discovery for like having some of the most amazing production design.
Very much.
Really incredible. I really liked the production design and the characters of that show, and was so sad they gave them absolutely nothing interesting to do most of the time.
Yeah.
That was so strange to me.
I think that's a result of the Abrams effect. They realized if
Maybe
you put a lot of money into the look, more eyes will turn to it.
Maybe
because of Discovery, we got Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, so, and that's been fantastic. Yeah. Third season a little uneven, but like
yep,
still worth it. I think
we got the baseline of the Spock Kirk friendship, which
that's true.
Oh, nice,
very true.
So, given that you have a Troy Riker right in our faces here,
and a Spock,
is a Spock? Oh,
there's a little Spock bobblehead. Yeah,
oh, yeah.
Little bobble.
Would you say you're more of a Trekker than a Star Wars, or even Star Wars at all?
Star Trek took my heart when I was young, so definitely way more into that. I read all of the pocket books and stuff, but by the same token, I've read a ton of the expanded universe of Star Wars as well. I was a big Timothy Zahn fan when he did the Heir to the Emperor trilogy and whatnot. But I can safely say that the first three films are all I really need. I haven't been drawn in by prequels or anything else. Like, it hasn't done a lot for me. And not to say that I dislike them, just that I found it hard to engage with them.
I can understand that. As an adult, like, they were such a huge part of my childhood. There are moments as an adult where I'm like, wow, this isn't actually very good, but boy, am I happy right now.
I watched Strange. Speaking of being a child, we had taped back in the day when your parents would tape random things for kids and hope that they enjoyed them off of TV. We had one of the Ewok movies that I watched like probably 600 times. The one where they crash land on the planet and the two kids have to like fight a giant spider. Mm-hmm. I've seen that one, and I had no idea that wasn't like quote unquote real Star Wars.
Caravan of Courage.
That's what it was called.
Yeah.
It's on Disney Plus right now.
Yeah.
Is it? So I've seen that a zillion times, but like for me, that was canon. For me, that was like the Star Wars that I grew up with, you
know? I want to circle back to favorite ship in all of fandom.
I mean, I could maybe go with Enterprise again. I kind of like the old analog Battlestar Galactica from the remake. That's kind of a fun ship just because it's like such an anachronism. And the anachronistic, yeah, the anachronism. They have to pull down like a handset to talk to anyone, like they're on a submarine. Like that kind of stuff is just fun dressing for a show. They didn't have to do that kind of thing, but they made it a central conceit of why they were able to survive, and that was pretty neat to do. Also, the Zaphod Beeblebrox's ship in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yes,
pretty with improbability engine. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
That's pretty badass.
Great concept. I feel like now it's cheating, but I always have to go back to TARDIS.
Oh yeah, is TARDIS a ship though, or is TARDIS a vessel? And is there a difference?
Wait, I wouldn't. Yeah, we'd have to define ship versus vessel. Wait, isn't that kind of redundant though?
I don't know, because like one is a container that you travel through a medium, but the TARDIS kind of travels through time. Does it actually move, or does it just displace itself temporarily?
It does. The part of the gimmick is that it doesn't look like that. It really isn't a police box.
It's just what we see on Earth.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's supposed to be a larger ship, which makes no fucking sense because it's taking up X amount of space wherever it lands. It should be.
That's a really good point.
But it's also fantasy.
Well,
that's
when you watch the Day of the Doctor and he steals the TARDIS and not the Day of the Doctor, the Night of the Doctor. You see it's like some kind of cylinder before the chameleon circuit.
Oh, really?
Clicked on, yeah.
So I grew up with CBC up here, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. It was just Doctor Who reruns every single day when I was a kid. So like I saw the full like 60s and 70s run of that as a child and just internalized all that weird British sci-fi stuff, like how the sets looked and like the cheapness of the props and the woodenness of the characterizations, and fell in love with it. Like I haven't watched modern Doctor Who, which I understand to be very different.
It's interesting.
It is very different.
Yeah, I equate the old Doctor Who to like Dark Shadows, where it would come on.
Really?
I'd watch it for a second and be like, I'm not into this. This is so stilted and
It's
so
super stilted.
But then I watched one episode of the newer one of the David Tennant ones one night. I'm like, this is incredible. I gotta get. And one of my friends at work was like, "Oh, give me a hard drive. I'll just load it all with all the episodes that are out by now." So I caught up that way.
I think that's awesome that you can take this property and like have these two totally different takes on it that both work. You know, like how rare is that?
And still keep it canon.
Yeah. And occasionally have elements brought in that I can now appreciate from the past, because they're either done differently or like they'll bring other doctors in.
Maybe you need that like overarching state-owned media to control that kind of thing to make it work like that. The BBC's got its fingers in real deep.
Yeah, until they rent it out to like Warner Brothers and Disney, like they've been doing lately, just to make it look prettier.
Yeah,
it does look prettier though. It's not even.
Well, the one with the third Doctor with the spiders, that made Star Trek look like Star Wars.
But that scared the hell out of me as a kid. Those spiders were terrifying. They would like jump on your back and then disappear and like phase into you. If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I remember my sister couldn't watch that. She's like 2 years younger than me. So like that was right around the time where that would be too real for a child. Yeah.
It's too real for me now at 41.
There you go. I can't argue with that.
Kind of sucks. We're going down a great path, but we're running out of time. I think we should, out of respect for our guests, plug again.
Model
U.N. Starting tomorrow. Well, it will be up by the time we load this. It will absolutely be available on Kickstarter.
Awesome.
Check it out. Art looks really strong. It's black and white. It's got kind of a manga-esque, not style, but like printing quality to it, which is
there you go.
Never really bad. It's kind of gritty and pulpy. You gotta love some gritty pulp. You get
I love pulp.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on, guys. This has been fun. Wish we had more than half an hour. You could probably go down deep rabbit holes, I think.
We're collecting guests. Anytime we have a good experience with a guest, we always get their information and hope to have them on our normal show where we go a bit more long form. And I'm going to speak for everybody here. I'm going to extend the invitation to you to one day
love that.
Come on and nerd out. Because we could go into our normal show where we do some news and stuff, but also based on the 30 minutes we've had here, we could just pick a topic and board.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Should I just do it early? Do we have like 30 seconds for us to stare at each other? Let's come in for a landing the way we usually do. Who starts it? Kyle usually starts. Kyle's not here.
He's not here. So I will say, if you like what you hear, head on over to facebook.com/nerdaties. Wow, I was supposed to.
That's the name.
I was going to say the other show because it's also how that starts. Follow us there. You can follow us at Nerdaties on Twitter, at Nerdaties on Instagram.
Nerdaties on YouTube.
Oh yeah, well Joe, don't jump ahead. It's not your fucking turn.
That's your segment, Joe.
Yeah, come on, bro. Then I say head on over to prowrestlingtees.com/nerdaties, NERDATIS. Buy our cool t-shirts. And then to the many fans that listen to our weekly pro wrestling D&D audio drama, thank you. We're doing really good numbers. Buy those t-shirts. Those characters all have t-shirts on prowrestlingtees.com/nerdaties. Now, Joe, I say you're going to tell us about YouTube.
Yeah, check us out on youtube.com/nerdities. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to all things Nerdities. And don't forget, you can watch the One Above All live every Monday night on YouTube. And
look at the camera, Joe. Engage the listener viewer.
There you are. You are. Don't forget to check out our
look back
our interviews and our fun shorts, our upcoming Halloween special, Christmas special, and the 100 greatest movie quotes according to Nerdities. There's definitely some crazy fuckery. And if you're out there and want to sponsor Nerdities, give us money.
Right. The opinions of the Nerdities crew are idiotic and poorly thought out, but don't worry, next week's will be far more insulting. See that, Joe? I'm looking directly at the camera. I'm taking it in. You keep fucking up like this, you're not going to get your 5 minutes next interview. Fuck bye.
Bye.
Bye.